Okay, I'm live, I guess. Okay, this is live. We're going live. And welcome. This is Hannah Morgan. I'm a little bit early, so I'm gonna welcome everybody. If you're here, chat and leave me a message and let me know. Um, I am entering in right now this week's Summary Sunday so that you can follow along if you haven't already seen it. That's there. There's a little bit of a lag time, so I may not see your message right away, but I want to thank everyone for being here. Welcome. I'm Hannah Morgan. I'm a career Sherpa, and this is Monday, August 24th, and this is this week's Summary Sunday debrief. So, what I love to do is to take the Summary Sunday and then dive a little bit deeper into the content and share some of my thoughts about why the article is important and some of the takeaways that you might want to have from the articles that were shared in this week's Summary Sunday. So that's what we're going to do today. That's what I'm going to do today. But always, if you've got questions and you want to chime in or want my input, please leave me a comment. Welcome, Suzanne. Hope you're having a marvelous Monday too. Okay, so this week's Summary Sunday was, let me tell you what was it called. It was called New Ideas for Your Job Search. And so there's this really, there are lots of famous quotes around this, but my belief is for job seekers, I don't care if you're new or old or young or seasoned, this is my belief. If you continue to do what you've always done, then you're going to get the same results. So, no matter what you've been doing, if you are not happy with the results that you are getting and your expectations are reasonable, then you should definitely try doing some things differently. I think it was Albert Einstein who said the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same things over and over again the same way and expecting different results. That's my paraphrasing, right? So I don't want to see you continue to spin your wheels, doing the same things the same way, using the same cover letter, using the same email messages, and expecting different results. That won't happen. So you've got to shift some things. So there were many articles that I shared in this week's Summary Sunday. Um, Robin Ryan wrote an article about illegal job interview questions, so we're going to talk about that for a bit. The top skills and jobs in demand according to LinkedIn data. Um, Dr. Don Graham wrote a great article about updating your online job search because if you're expecting to get a job solely because you've applied for a job online, you filled out an online application or submitted your resume online, and you think that that is going to get you a job interview, that's not the case. You're too late to the party. So, and then there's an article on staying positive during job search and a really cool idea about using video messaging. Uh, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, and I hope that some of you had a chance to look at the Summary Sunday. The link is in my first comment in here, so you can follow along if you need to. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be talking about. So let's talk about Robin Ryan's article on Forbes, where she talks about illegal interview questions that are being asked during COVID. Questions like, how many kids do you have and what are their ages? Are you financially responsible for any dependents? Who's going to care for your kids while you're at work? How old are you? If you were a hiring manager in today's day and age, you would absolutely be wondering those same things too. Because what we know is that people who have kids may not be able to go back to work in an office because the kids might be home studying. So if I'm a company that really needs people to be in the office or to be at the workplace, and I find out that you have kids, that puts a big question mark in front of you as a candidate. You don't want to bait and switch and pretend like you can always be there, but if you've got solid plans for where your kids are going to go if they're not going to school because school is virtual, then you want to share that. So Here's the bottom line. You always have choices, and this is about understanding the consequences of your choices. The first option you have, and this is what Robin points out, is you can call the interviewer out and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's an illegal interview question, and I'm not comfortable answering that." You could say that. That doesn't give the employer any information that they're looking for. And because hiring is a very risky prospect and it's about finding fit, there's a breakdown in trust, and that's probably not going to get you where you want to go. Um, However, the other option is to find a safe way to answer any one of those questions that you might be asked without divulging too much information. So, and again, read the full article because Robin gives some ideas. She said for about how many kids you have and what are their ages, you could say, I have three boys, age 11 and 9 and 7. We have hired a nanny to help with the children and oversee the home classroom. Therefore, the employer feels like they're getting important information, they understand your situation, and they don't need to worry about it because you've hired somebody to take care of the homeschooling. So the main takeaway from this article is know how you are going to answer some of these questions because you don't want to catch I don't want you to catch them off guard. Should the employers or recruiters or hiring managers be asking you these questions? No, they shouldn't. They're protected. But they may do that because of the unusual circumstances we find ourselves in today. And if you're okay answering these questions, then and that could mean that you would get a job. That might be something you want to consider doing. But it's up to you. And again, I want to make sure that you are making the right choices for you. So that was about the illegal interview questions. Okay. Um, the The other article that was in Summary Sunday was about the top occupations and skills being hired for right now on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a massive database. They have access to all this data. And so they're sort of compiling it. The jobs most in demand for the month of August, which is where we are right now: salesperson, food delivery driver, registered nurse, software engineer, store associate, cashier, financial advisor, stock clerk, training supervisor, project manager. Um, and then there's a whole separate category of most in-demand remote jobs, which I'll let you read because that's different. And then skills that companies are hiring for, along with LinkedIn's plug for their courses. Not a bad idea. Some might be free. Communication, business management, problem solving, data science, data storage technologies are the top five skills. And each one of those has sort of a correlating list of courses on LinkedIn. Training that you could take. Let me point out there was another article this week that I didn't share in my Summary Sunday, but it was about the importance of understanding data analytics for almost every job in the workplace right now. So my recommendation is no matter what your job is, customer service, um, working in project management, I don't care what your job is. I think it's always worth up leveling your skills, especially right now. So if you don't understand data analytics, data science, and you want a better overview of what that's going to mean, because it will impact every single person's job. Knowing that gives you the upper hand over your fellow workmate who doesn't know data analytics, is really going to be a huge benefit in the long run for your growth and your career progression. So go understand and learn more about data analytics, data science, business analytics. It's really going to be helpful. And there are some classes that are available on LinkedIn. Some might be free, some might be low cost, but look for those. If not, you can always have an informational meeting with somebody in your company if you're currently working, or people that you know who are in the business of data analytics or data science, and say, okay, give me the Cliff Notes version of data analytics and data science and what I need to know. And then ask them the question, how do you think that might relate to a job in whatever job it is you have? What a great informational conversation that would be with somebody that you already know. And give you a lot of insight so that you could take action on that if necessary. Um, the next article that I featured was written by Dr. Dawn Graham, who I love because she's always got a fresh perspective. And her whole take in this article, and really what caught my eye, was the title of it: Why Your Online Job Search Strategy is Failing You and How to Fix It. So, if you believe that you can get hired for a job because you've applied online, that is possible. Only a very, very, very small percentage of people get hired solely because they've applied for a job online. And what this article that Don writes focuses in on is really just how slim those odds are. And in almost every instance, she gives an example of what you can do to give yourself an advantage. So update your LinkedIn profile. So she tells you how to do that because she knows that having a good profile on LinkedIn is important to people finding you as a candidate. Build more LinkedIn connections. Create your target company list, which I think is probably the most important thing that every job seeker needs to be doing today. It, and I've been preaching it for a while now. Follow up, another great way to set yourself apart from the competition for people who have applied versus you is to follow up. I used to be a recruiter for a period of time, and this is what I know. As much as I wanted to try and keep track of all the candidates, and this was a long time before we had all the systems we have in place today, but when somebody placed that phone call and said, hey, my name is so and so, I applied for this job 3 weeks ago, I'm just checking in to see where you were in the process. Guess what that allowed me to do? I would go dig through my piles or files online or on my desk, and I would go find their resume. Because if I could give them some immediate sort of insight, like, well, you're probably there are other candidates that are stronger than you, or oh yeah, you're somebody we're going to be pushing through for an interview. If I could give them any of that insight, I would. So following up after you've applied for a job and asking the question, where am I in the process, or where are you in the process? Make it about them, the person that is trying to manage the applications. That can be just one more way where you might have the opportunity to have a conversation and get noticed. Write for the machine, because one of the other tips Don gives is to write for the machine, the applicant tracking system that is going to be evaluating, screening your resume, and how important that is. Include a compelling cover letter, always, always, always. You can't make sure they read it, but if they do read it, it explains and fills in the gaps in your work history. Have a different conversation with people you know, the importance of networking, and use your time wisely. So all of those things are really important, valuable lessons to the online job search, which has to be more than just an online job search. So that's a great article by Dr. Don Graham. If you don't know, she also does a call-in show on Sirius Radio, and I don't remember, I think that's usually Thursdays. So be on the lookout. If you don't follow Dr. Don Graham on LinkedIn, I highly recommend you do. That's where this article appears. So that's helpful. Are there any questions that you all have? Oh, Chris, I'm glad you liked that article too by Don. There's a lot of good information in that. Does anyone have any questions that you have so far based on what you've read in the Summary Sunday or past Summary Sundays? Or if you just have a general question, type it in there too. I included one of my own articles in there because I think that there's a lot of confusion around this. What the article is about the three different options you have for updating your LinkedIn job title and employer when you're unemployed. Not your headline, but that under the experience section where you list your job title and employer. So I walk through the three different, why that section is really, really important and the three different options you have. And my first recommendation is the first option is to not change that date right away. So if you've been laid off or let go or your position has ended or you quit a job, don't change that end date right away. Um, and this is to help you and to help your profile. When you don't have a current job on LinkedIn, LinkedIn doesn't recognize your profile as being an all-star profile. Therefore, it won't rank as highly in search results. And secondly, when someone sees that you aren't currently working, the first question out of their mouth is going to be, what happened to your last job and what are you doing now? That would never happen if you had a current job listed. The first questions out of their mouth would not be, what happened to your job and what are you doing now? It would be, what are you doing now? What skills do you have? What are you working on? So I think that you really want to control the narrative, the line of questioning that people are going to be asking you, and there are going to be less questions about why you left and more questions about your skill sets if you leave your most recent job with an end date, even though you may not be working there. If you read the full article, it will explain that in more detail. There was somebody who read the article and left a comment about being truthful and honest and how employers are looking. Being honest with employers is something that's really important. I get that, and I'm not necessarily advocating that you quote unquote lie. I'm just saying don't change that end date yet. And if they ask you, or in the interview when they call you, or whatever going, you can confess that I'm currently not working, but that is at a point of time. You can share that information at a point of time that makes sense during that first phone call, rather than that being the line of questioning that someone pursues with you. So it's really to protect yourself and to give yourself additional leverage as a candidate. Because, like it or not, there is a small bias against people who are not currently working. If I'm an employer and a recruiter and I have two candidates, one that's working, one that's not working, my preference is going to be, if everything else is equal, to hire the person that is working in most cases, just because it shows their skills are more fresh, there's less baggage, blah, 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 blah. Now, that's just me. Everybody has a different perspective on that. But I just wanted to share you that being employed is usually better than being unemployed. You would agree to that, I'm sure. The last article that I shared, I'm running through these really quickly today, was quite a long article. It's by Adrian Kolf, and he is a recruiter. I don't recommend that you follow his recommendation verbatim because it's not really written for you, it's written for other recruiters. But the idea, the gist behind his article is, how can you get on the radar of people that you are trying to reach out to? In his case, he's trying to get on the radar of candidates to convince them to talk to him about a job that he's trying to fill. Let's flip this. You are a candidate trying to get on the radar of people, whether they be recruiters or people who work inside companies, to convince them that you're somebody that they should speak with. So in essence, you're both facing similar challenges. How do you break through the noise? And so one of his suggestion in this article is, why not use video messaging? Which I love. I think that that is something different. It's unique. It's more personal. And it doesn't have to be long. It's another way to break down that barrier and to give people an opportunity to interact with you. So if you read that article that he wrote, he talks about some different free tools, some paid tools. A lot of it gets into how do you send this on scale to a lot of different people. That's not your mission. I think in your case as a job seeker, you're going to want to customize this short 1 minute or less video message to each person that you reach out to and explain to them why you're reaching out and or why you want to speak with them. So video messaging, and he recommends using a tool called Loom, Loom. I have Loom. I've used it for a while for different things, and it's really simple and easy. And it basically creates a video message that you've recorded, and then you send the link to it. So it's pretty straightforward. And gosh, I would love for you to try sending a video message to a recruiter or somebody that you want to meet with inside a company and let me know how that turns out because I think that could be a secret. So there is some good information in his article on tools to use, wording to use, and how to follow up after you've sent that video message. So I hope you find that helpful. There's always a pearl of wisdom to be found through my friend Ed Hahn, who's a recruiter on Facebook. He includes a LinkedIn tip for the day. And his tip is this: want to engage with someone not already in your network? Engage with their posts and comment in a meaningful fashion on LinkedIn. This is the rarest of all forms of engagement on the platform, and hence is what the person and algorithm most highly value. So rather than reaching out cold to a stranger on LinkedIn and asking them for a favor, why not engage by leaving a meaningful comment on something that that person has posted on LinkedIn? That way, your name, face, profile is top of mind should you reach out. Or better yet, if they respond to your comment, you have a chance to ask them, do you mind if I reach out and send you an invitation to connect? Permission granted, right? So therefore, a lot of the obstacles that would be in play are gone, right? And it shows that you're a thoughtful person. It shows that you know how to interact socially online, and it shows that you're thoughtful. So that is one of Ed's pearls of wisdom that I wanted. I always love sharing with people because he's got a lot of stuff that he shares. Okay, so Chris has a question about Loom. When you send a link to someone, does the other person have to have a Loom account? No, they don't. So what happens is you send them, when you record your message on Loom, it saves it to the cloud. And so when you are sending your message to the person, it just sends them a URL, a link to your video in the cloud. So they don't need to have a Loom account to open your Loom video. So it's a good thing. There are lots of different ways to apply that too. So yeah, that's good. Good question. Thanks, Chris. Last but not least in this week's Summary Sunday was an article written by Jack Kelly on Forbes about staying positive during a long job search. And one of the things that I know because I've been doing this a while is working with job seekers is that a long job search, and long is just longer than you want it to be. That could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months. A long job search does require fortitude, and there are some strategies on how to stay positive and motivated. And so Jack Kelly runs through some ideas on what you can do to hold yourself accountable and to stay positive during a long job search. You will face rejection. It's hard. And nobody is trying to diminish that feeling. It's difficult. But there are some tricks and things that you can do to help keep you moving forward and to develop a more positive outlook. One of the things that I have found and I recommend all the time is to join a job seeker community, either online or meet in person, social distanced. When you work together with other people towards a common goal, you will go faster. It's much easier. You can commiserate, you can share best practices, and that helps you move forward. So there are a lot of free job search communities out there that have weekly meetings, whether it's called a job club or lots of them. So be on the lookout. I know that at one point somebody was If I can find the link, I will include the link in next week's Summary Sunday, or if I find it beforehand. Somebody was keeping track of, I think Sarah Johnston was, and then somebody else was keeping track of a lot of the different job clubs that were meeting virtually and in person around the country. I know I've spoken at several of them. Abby Cohut has spoken at a lot of them as she made her tour a few years ago. They're out there. You just have to find them, ask around, but I'll find the link if I can find the links and post them in the comments of this week's Job Search Live so that you can have those. So that's what I've got for you this week. Oh, Ed Hahn, H-A-N, Bobby. Ed Hahn, H-A-N. And he writes a lot on jobhunt.org from a recruiter perspective. He writes about LinkedIn a lot. You can follow him on Twitter, Ed Hahn, Ed underline underscore Hahn, H-A-N. He's pretty good. And also you can find a link to my tweet that mentions him in the Summary Sunday. So that's where all that information is. Because this is what I know, right? I love sharing my Summary Sunday, and I'm glad that people discover it. But if you follow the same people I do, you get the same information I get. So you don't need to follow me, and I don't need to be the go-between. If you're following all these people directly, you can get the information in real time without me being the go-between. I know it's easier when somebody has sort of curated it and culled it down to the most important stuff, but I don't want to hog the information. There's smart people out there. Find them. And I love sharing the work of the smart people that I follow. So okay, so that's going to wind up my job search live this week. I'm hoping in the future, and I'm just sort of get your thumbs up or thumbs down on this. There are people that I know that would add value to, and their voices would add value to this conversation. There are a couple people that I've had contact with and been in touch with over the past few months, and I was trying to do this before. June, but things got sidetracked. So I'm thinking in the upcoming month that I might be inviting a guest to have sort of an extra half an hour of this conversation. Do the Summer Sunday debrief in the beginning part and then have the person join us for the second half an hour to dive a little bit deeper on a particular topic related to job search. I think that would be sort of a 2-for-1 bonus. So if you're thumbs up that, let me know if that sounds like a good idea. If there are people that you'd like to hear from, or a topic that you'd like to have another voice chime in on, give me that thumbs up and let me know because that's what I think I might want to do. And I'm just sort of testing the idea out on you. So I hope you all have a super week. Good luck. Work hard, play hard, and find that support group that's going to help you move forward. Be well. Thank you all for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. Have a great week. I'll see you next week.